Welcome. Today I want to discuss mental illness as a factor in relationships. Mental illness has a huge stigma behind it, and yet according to psychology today, over half of adults suffer from mental illness at some point in their life. So we need to talk about it. We need to erase the stigmas attached with mental illness and normalize it. It is possible to have a long-term functional relationship with mental illness present. Both partners just have a high level of awareness, transparency, and honesty. And both partners need to put effort into themselves as well as the relationship. So let's talk about some signs of mental illness, which are change in sleep or appetite. It can be increased sleep and appetite or decreased sleep and appetite. That can go either way. Mood swings and emotional outbursts. That's a big one. Depression, unhealthy coping mechanisms. So what does that look like? Unhealthy coping mechanisms can include alcohol to numb out, drugs. It can mean being a workaholic, a shopaholic, having a gambling addiction, having an eating addiction. So any unhealthy coping mechanism. And finally, social withdrawal is a sign. Often people with mental illness, especially if it's been recently diagnosed, they carry a lot of shame and sort of this feeling of they are embarrassed. But there's really nothing to feel ashamed or embarrassed about. So some forms of PTSD or some forms of mental illness include PTSD, CPTSD, generalized anxiety disorder, depression, and alcoholism, in addition to some of the more sort of severe ones like bipolar and borderline personality disorder. So if you are in love with someone and living with somebody who has one of these mental illnesses, it's very important that you practice good self-care, set boundaries, and that you plug into a good support system, a good social support, because your partner likely is socially withdrawn, which will make you feel isolated in the long run. So by having a good social network, it'll give you opportunities to get out and have fun, to blow off some steam, and to have people to talk to about other life issues that you might be feeling. It's also good to have your own set of activities and hobbies that you enjoy. That's part of practicing good self-care. You can journal, get some time outside, some fresh air. Practice good sleep habits, good eating habits, eliminate the processed foods that'll make you feel weighed down and tired, fatigued. You want to make sure to move your body, get exercise. Movement is good for both the body and the mind. Very important. When you're journaling, you can practice positive affirmations to raise your self-esteem and your confidence. Intimacy might be a problem or a struggle with your loved one who suffers from mental illness. Sometimes these people like to have an overactive sex drive, and sometimes they become completely withdrawn from sex. So there are other forms of intimacy where you can keep a close bond with one another, including an emotional connection. So it's really important to practice empathy and compassion for your loved one. Practice active listening. So So listen with the intent to help them, or with the intent to understand and to help them feel heard, understood, and validated. That's really what they need from you. You are not there to be a therapist for them. You are not there to solve their problems. It is important, especially depending on the severity of their mental illness, that they do seek some medical care, some professional therapy, but you are not. That is not your role. That is too heavy of a burden for you, and you are not trained for that position. So just practice active listening and let your partner know that you love them and that you're there to support them. That's really important. So watch for caregiver burnout. If you start experiencing these symptoms of mental illness, change in your appetite, change in your sleep patterns, if you're feeling fatigued, if you're feeling completely overwhelmed, that's when you know it's time to seek help for yourself. You may need individual therapy as well as couples therapy with your partner to learn better communication skills. Maybe you need to set firmer boundaries, and a therapist can really help you take measures in those directions. You may need a overnight getaway by yourself to restore and rejuvenate yourself. Maybe a day at the spa, maybe an afternoon out with your friends, a luncheon out or a brunch. But really be aware of how you're feeling and don't let yourself be dragged down by your partner. Go back to those self-care techniques. Maybe read a book and rest, watch a fun movie. It's okay to just have some downtime. Being overly busy is also a coping mechanism, by the way. It's okay to just have downtime, relaxation time. And my final point is, if your loved one is really draining your energy and you're starting to get dragged down by your loved one's behaviors, then it may be time to reevaluate the relationship, and unfortunately sometimes relationships have to end. So those are my tips for today on being in a loving, healthy relationship with someone who's mentally ill. Comment, tell me if you have been in a relationship like this. Tell me some things that you've done that have worked for your relationship, or tell me how you feel about it. Let's break down this stigma together, and tell me what other content you would like to see on the channel. In case no one else has told you yet today, you are absolutely amazing. Thank you for shining.